Greetings, everyone! Welcome to Sonic Boom Issue 3. And poor Amy Rose, she lost her hammer. Last time, Knuckles teamed up with Eggman to capture his friends. Turns out, Knuckles came up with a scheme to prove to the others, especially Amy, he's not an idiot. Only to make himself more like an idiot. Still, his friends played along, and that gave him the confidence to actually stop Eggman's attack. Everyone made up, and things were swell until Amy realized she lost her hammer. A reminder, this is where she lost it. Amy's crying into Sonic's scarf, and all Sonic can say is, "You're getting my logo all gross." First of all, Sonic, remember this from issue 1? Yeah. And second, I'd be more concerned about washing your scarf. Anyway, Sonic just made the worst mistake of all, saying that Amy's hammer was just a hammer. And this is why. After Amy's dramatic performance, everyone points out possible hammer locations, with Amy frantically responding to each of them. Then Styx, of all people, forces the three of them to find the hammer and goes to comfort Amy, even offer Amy a placeholder weapon for the time being. We have this two-pager of Sonic looking up, down, and all around for the hammer, with no luck. Knuckles is failing to even find the right item, and Tails goes to a shop run by a beaver looking for the hammer with equal amounts of fail. Anyway, Amy's trying out her first replacement weapon, Styx's boomerang to be exact, with predictable but goofy results. Dr. Eggman's repairing his big boy robot, again, and we get this scene of Orbot and Cubot hoping they can have logo names. Nope. Cubot laments about his position as a lackey, and well, nice shout out here. Moving on, Cubot during repairs comes across Amy's hammer. He admires its design and, oh my, oh dear, he's gone Golem on us. We cut back to Amy Rose here as she is trying out her next weapon, a bow staff. And I'll let these panels speak for themselves. Back to Eggman's base, Orbot finds Cubot playing guitar with the hammer, and, well, at least Cubot gets a logo now. Sort of. Orbot recognizes the hammer and wants to give it to Eggman. Cubot's constant channeling of Golem prompts Orbot to attack. During all this, Eggman's preparing himself for the attack in his own Eggman way. During the fight, it's revealed that Orbot wants the hammer for himself. Looks like we have a Smeagol-Deagle situation here, folks. Eggman boards his big boy, assuming repairs went as planned, not knowing the hammer fight turned off the warning alarm. Speaking of the fight, it ends with the hammer ricocheting throughout the robot and finally flying off into the distance. And the robot itself collapses afterwards. So much for Eggman's big boy. The hammer is on its way back to the main island, and we have Sonic and Tails discussing the hammer dilemma, and finally Sonic's worried about his booger-filled scarf. Seriously dude, wash it! Thankfully, Amy won't blow her nose on it anymore as the hammer conveniently lands in Sonic's hand. Just in time as far as Knuckles and Styx are concerned. So now that everything's alright, Styx heads for home. On her way though, she finds a thing that catches her eye. A small version of herself at the bottom right corner of the page, breaking the fourth wall. I think this is the first issue that felt like it belonged in the same universe as the cartoon. Sure, the first two issues had over-the-top cartoony humor, but I feel like this issue could fit right in with the show if it were ever adapted, though they have to make some changes here and there. The main story surrounded Amy's hammer, her reactions to it being lost, the search for the hammer, and what happens when others find it. This whole issue of Amy's hammer being lost could have been avoided if she had made Amy's hammer space abilities. In the main Sonic continuity, and by extension the main Sonic comics, Amy has the power of hammer space. That's the only explanation I got. I mean, she pulls that big powerful thing out of nowhere. Supposedly. And she's not worried about losing it. Boom Amy, as far as I know, doesn't have hammer space, and it's in keeping with the cartoon. Let me explain. In the episode Fortress of Squalitude, Eggman took on Amy as his interior decorator so his home could appear in a Villain's Lair magazine. Naturally, being a villain, he took Amy hostage. Eventually, Sonic and the others arrived to save her, and they brought her hammer, proving why Boom Amy didn't just whip up said hammer when Eggman forced her to stay. You know, I should stop putting logic into all this and embrace the madness. Speaking of madness, it seems anyone who has Amy's hammer gets a little too possessive, as seen with Eggman's lackeys. Before I continue on the hammer madness, I should mention Cubot's line about previous Eggman lackeys, or Robotnik's lackeys if you want to be technical.
Nobody calls me that anymore.
Some fans would disagree with you, dude. While they're not mentioned by name, longtime Sonic fans would recognize who.
Actually, it's whom.
Fine. Whom Cubot was talking about based on their descriptions. But for those who don't know, the mentioned lackeys are in order: Scratch and Grounder from The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, Snively from Sad AM, Sleet and Dingo from Sonic Underground, and Baco and Deco from Sonic X. Before you say anything, they all appeared in comic format. Notice that Cubot did not mention any tertiary lackeys. Sorry, Coconuts and Bokun fans. Now back to our current lackeys. I do like that a good chunk of this story focused on them and their fight over Amy's hammer. I know this is played for laughs, but was Boom Amy's hammer forged from Mount Doom? That would be the only explanation why these two fought over this powerful weapon. The few Eggman panels were enjoyable, and I think Big Boy's finished this time. So back to our heroes. Again, Styx is the only competent person in this comic. Last issue she had her own escapable cage, and in this one, she forced the guys to search for Amy's hammer, tried to comfort her, and offered to help her find a fill-in weapon, including her boomerang. But there were a couple of times we're reminded that Styx can be a little out there, with references to the Illuminati and anti-alien mind-reading tinfoil. Too bad she also got caught up in the weapon slapstick. Speaking of, Amy hitting Knuckles, albeit for comedy. Remember that Amy wouldn't be trying that bow staff if she hadn't lost her hammer. And she wouldn't have lost her hammer if Knuckles didn't come up with that Eggman team-up plan. Is this karma biting back for Knuckles? You decide. The search for the hammer. Well, what could I say? These two pages here really illustrate the Boom cartoon atmosphere I mentioned earlier, while at the same time taking advantage of the comic format. Plot convenience brought the hammer back to Amy, but how else could the situation solve itself? Finally, the art here is a tag team effort between Ryan Jampol, who did the breakdowns, and Jennifer Hernandez, who finished the job. The final score for Sonic Boom Issue 3 is an 8 out of 10. It's fun, it has a lot of chuckle moments, and has a little more focus on the lackeys. So what did Styx find that got her excited? Something plot related? Or something just to hook readers for the next issue, and said thing would just be tossed aside for the real plot? We'll find out next month. Until then, have a good day, and be safe.